In this demonstration, I'll show you how ImpairMaster can easily generate impairment rating reports based on the 6th edition of the AMA's Guides to the Evaluation of Permanent Impairment. For this case, our patient sustained a blow to the posterior aspect of his neck from a machine support that slipped. Studies revealed a C7T1 disc herniation. He was managed conservatively and, in spite of persistent symptoms, refused surgery. He was evaluated for impairment 1 year after his injury. The patient reports neck pain with radiation to the ulnar aspect of the hand and numbness of the ring and little fingers. He is unable to use his dominant left hand for activities for daily living without considerable pain in the neck, left upper back, and ulnar side of the left upper limb with minimal activity. During his exam, he responded to the Pain Disability Questionnaire and scored 120, which is consistent with a severe disability. The physical exam revealed decreased range of motion in the neck, a positive cervical compression with severe radiating pain to the left arm in a C8 distribution, decreased finger flexion strength, and diminished sensation in the ring and little fingers. An MRI revealed a left posterolateral disc herniation of C7 through T1, and an EMG showed left C8 fibrillation potentials. The patient was given a diagnosis of cervical disc herniation with C8 radiculopathy. Let's see how we do this impairment rating using ImpairMaster for the AMA Guides 6th edition. I'll start by clicking the green Create New Report button. I'll provide the subject's name, and I'll leave the date of exam as today's date. All the other fields I'll leave with their default values for now. For the 6th edition, you could think of the exam as a collection of diagnosis impairments. To start, we'll need to add our first diagnosis impairment, and to do that, I'll click the Add Impairment button at the top of the page. The next step is to select the area affected by the diagnosis. I'll click the spine and pelvis, and then cervical, since this is a cervical disc herniation. ImpairMaster is now giving me a list of diagnoses that are recognized as rateable by the AMA guides. We'll find the one we need under motion segment lesions. Here it is, intervertebral disc herniation and/or AOMSI. With the diagnosis selected, we now need to select the class which best represents the patient's condition. By selecting the various classes, we can see the class's description and see if it best matches the patient's condition. The descriptions are shown right below the selected class. As I click through each class, you can see the description is changing. In the essence of time, let's jump right to Class 2, which is most appropriate for this patient. Notice first that ImpairMaster is showing you that Class 2 for this diagnosis is rated at 11% whole person. The default grade C is the baseline impairment for this diagnosis. Lower grades such as A and B may have less than 11% value, and grades D and E may have higher values. In functional history, let's add the PDQ non-key factor. We know the patient scored 120 on the PDQ. This will fall into grade 3, severe disability, because it's in the range of 101 to 130. I'll select grade 3 and then click Save. Now the non-key factors list shows the PDQ selection. Also notice that the impairment is now 12% instead of 11%, and the grade has moved up to grade D. Now let's apply the sensory and motor deficits. This would be found on the Physical Examination tab. I'll click Physical Examination and then Sensory Deficit. There I'll select grade 2 since that most closely matches the examiner's assessment. I'll click Save to save this non-key factor. Now I'll add motor strength deficit the same way. Lastly, let's enter the imaging studies, which is also a grade 2. As a last consideration, I can enter some text in the narrative portion of the page to provide any additional supporting information. I'll put something here just so you can see where it shows up. With everything complete, I click Save and ImpairMaster generates the report. The report elaborates on all the details I entered for the diagnosis, including the table and page citations back to the AMA guides. In addition to the textual narrative, ImpairMaster includes a table that explains how the impairment value was calculated and how each grade modifier affected the final grade and impairment. For this patient, the final impairment is 12% whole person. For demo purposes, I'll add another arbitrary impairment just to show how multiple impairments would look in the 6th edition. Let's add a diagnosis of shoulder sprain to this report. I'll click Add Impairment, then I'll pick upper extremity, shoulder, and then sprain/strain. This diagnosis has two classes available, Class 0 and Class 1. Class 0 is effectively no impairment, and Class 1 is going to be the more severe of the two. I'll go ahead and put in a quick dash score to put something under functional history. I'll choose a grade 3, and then click Save. Now I'll save and finish. You could see now that there's two diagnosis impairments on this report. First is the intervertebral disc herniation that we entered before, and also now the shoulder sprain/strain. If I scroll down, we could see that the shoulder sprain has a value of 2% right upper extremity. And in the final impairment calculation, that 2% right upper extremity is converted to 1% whole person, and then the 12% from the disc herniation is combined with 1% for the shoulder sprain, giving us 13% whole person. The final exam can now be converted to a PDF by clicking the print button at the top of the window. For more information on ImpairMaster, please see the comments section for this video or visit www.impairmaster.com. Thanks for watching.